Back to our favorite sideline reporter. What's up, Aditi?
By the way, Nick Chubb has had over 20 carries twice this year.
No, I know he has.
Yeah.
But if you look at his career numbers, he's done it. But he's been under 20 way more than he's been over 20.
Way more than he should.
And he's the best running back.
What's up, Aditi? I see you with the Pella windows behind you.
Yeah, I see you. I see you.
How do you know they're Pellas?
They got a very distinct
watch
very
out. I'm
distinct
doing more than
style.
just commentate.
Look, come on now.
Wait a minute, gee, do you sell Pella windows?
Nah, he just buy a lot of them.
Yeah, exactly.
When you have Pella windows, you know what Pella windows look like.
You can tell. I'm really impressed.
Hey, Aditi, listen, my window still got that screen you lift up. You know, like you lift the screen up with that air conditioner. Yeah. Hey, close that door. Leave that air in here.
We got those too.
Gotta put tape around the edges.
All right, Aditi, we've been blowing hot air for an hour around here.
Wait, but before you even get to that, Jay, what's wrong with Ivy Leaguers?
Let me tell you something.
Calculators. I'm not an Ivy Leaguer with a calculator, but I am an Ivy Leaguer.
My daughter's an Ivy Leaguer, so I'm allowed to take a half-hearted shot. Here's the problem with what we've seen, and I firmly believe there's going to be a correction. And I don't know, maybe you know this, but to me, I think during the course of this year, I think we've seen John Harbaugh lean more heavily on analytics, and I feel like he's starting to pull back a little bit. I think he made a decision in a win last week that defied the analytics, that just the week before he leaned on the analytics and lost and took a ton of heat for it.
He's been doing that for years.
I know he has.
No, but you know what? I think sometimes, here's the thing though. I think sometimes people think it's about analytics and it's actually not. And when you mentioned John Harbaugh, you remember certainly the end of last season, there were I wish I knew it off the top of my head. Mikey McNuggets, why don't you tell me to prepare these things? I think it was 4 games that they lost by a grand total of 6 points. And multiple times he went for 2. I'll even use the example, and I think we talked about this on the show, against the Steelers. They were driving. They were down by 2. No, they were down by 1 at the end of what would be regulation, and he's got the most money kicker in the league in Justin Tucker. He could have kicked the extra point, gone into overtime. Instead, he decides to go for 2. Lamar Jackson has Mark Andrews, throws the ball to Mark Andrews, but Defensive Player of the Year TJ Watt makes an amazing play and knocks the ball just slightly, or throws Lamar's throw off just a little bit such that it doesn't get to Mark Andrews. The Ravens lose. People rip John Harbaugh for trusting the analytics to go for 2. That had nothing to do with analytics. As John Harbaugh said to me after the game, he had no cornerbacks healthy. So he thought he had a much better chance of winning right then on that play than having to go into overtime with no healthy cornerbacks. So I think that when we sit here and we say, oh, are they relying on analytics? A lot of times it's not actually analytics. We just sort of perceive it or play it as analytics, and it's something else at play. Maybe a guy is hurt. Maybe a guy. I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off. Go ahead.
No, I'm cutting you off. Anytime there's a outside the box decision that doesn't work, everybody screams analytics. Every time it works,
right. And my
says
point
anything.
is, it's not always analytics.
Yes,
sometimes
exactly.
It's
You're
something
right.
like just not having healthy cornerbacks. Sometimes it's just like,
well, when he
I don't
lost
like
the
this
game,
matchup. This matchup has been killing us all day, and here we've got one moment to try to win the game.
That was smart.
And
I was watching that game. It was the right
win
call.
it right here than we do playing another 5-10 minutes or another possession.
Mike's got some.
Yeah, Didi, I apologize for not prepping you. I didn't know we were going to go into the deep analytics of the 2021 Ravens season on the Cleveland show. That's on me. But they did play 10 games last year that ended in a 1-score contest. They were 3-7 in those games. So.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, and especially in December, there was a whole run of them where they lost essentially right at the end.
And
the
most,
Packers,
you know what? The fact of the matter is, most of the NFL games.
It was a bunch of games like that.
But Aditi, most of the NFL games are 1-score games. I mean, the Browns have lost 4. The first 3 were all decided by 1 point, 2 points, 3 points. They are mostly 1-score games. And I know that, the decision about analytics, you can scream that that's an analytics call, but it was the right call. I've just seen too many coaches leave points on the field to go for the analytics play, and the Browns did that.
Jay, then you ignore every time they make it. Yes, you do.
Yeah, but you know what?
No, you don't. You just bring it up when it doesn't work.
this is the magic of sports that we get to sit here, and wasn't it a week ago that Kevin Stefanski was being ripped for not running a quarterback sneak, which his quarterback is so money at, and then yesterday he runs a quarterback sneak on 4th down and doesn't get it.
Yep.
And who knows how that game changes if he just takes the field goal right there, or if he gets that quarterback sneak, or whatever
that's
it
my
is.
point.
I mean, Adam sends me a text
leaving
message
points
this
on the
morning
field.
talking about Mike Tomlin and the coach that he is, because Mike Tomlin's team was the biggest dog that it had ever been at home yesterday.
I can't believe they won.
And
Right.
somehow guts out this win, missing its entire secondary. And with Kenny Pickett, the newly anointed starting quarterback, going out with a concussion, Mitch Trubisky of Mentor, Ohio, coming back in and engineering the 4-minute offense at the end of the game the way that you needed him to, such that they could go into victory formation against the greatest quarterback of all time, Tom Brady. But in this town, Adam, up until yesterday, I mean, and not just up until yesterday, probably repeatedly in Mike Tomlin's entire tenure here, people want to run him out of town.
I know, people are dumb.
It's time to get
People
rid
are
of
dumb.
Tomlin. The Tomlin's stale. The Tomlin has a terrible staff. Why doesn't Tomlin have a coaching tree? So again, I think that this is just one of the magical things of being a sports fan, is you get to second guess everybody.
I take Tomlin.
That's what we do.
I take Tomlin.
I take Tomlin
today.
too.
I take
If Pittsburgh
Tomlin
runs
today.
him out, I hope we're smart
I take
enough
Tomlin
to take
today.
him.
Aditi, I want to go back
I
to
mean, he would not even be on the market for 30 seconds.
No,
And
he wouldn't.
He's not going anywhere. When he leaves Pittsburgh, it will be on his accord, probably because he wants to go and be on TV. And that's
agree.
it. I mean, he's
and
not,
that's why the
he's
Steelers
not
are the
looking to
Steelers.
coach elsewhere. He's not looking to leave.
But also, Mike Tomlin in year 3 had Ben Roethlisberger, quarterback,
Yeah.
and wasn't the coach
Yes.
that he is today. These guys need time to figure it out. And that's why I want to go back to the Ivy League thing, because the point I made earlier in the show, everyone likes to take digs at Kevin that he thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. I think that's something that we as a media has created about the Browns, because they're the Ivy League front office and everyone likes to do that. I know Kevin a little bit. You know him better than I do. I know smug people who think they're the smartest guy in the room. He has never struck me as that guy.
Never, 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 never. And in
you.
fact, I'll tell you, Jacoby Brissett, one of the first things that he said to me of why he liked Kevin Stefanski so much, he said he's like Frank Reich, no ego. He said there's no ego. If Kevin wants to put something in and Jacoby doesn't like it, there's no ego. It's like, okay, fine, we're not going to run that then. If you're not comfortable with it, it's not a big deal. And that's what there are certain guys like that. Frank Reich, Doug Peterson, Kevin Stefanski. There is no ego in the coaching that they are doing and the people that they are. And in fact, I
I
won't
know you
name
don't want to
names.
hear it, but you better open
There
your
are
ears.
at least 2 other coaches in the AFC North that I would say have bigger egos and are more smug than Kevin Stefanski.
There's a saying out here: birds of a feather flock together. Stefanski and Jacoby Brissett, they're the same people. Yes, they are. No fight, no fire, nothing. You couldn't leave.
Oh,
they
stop.
couldn't leave.
Aditi, I want your guy Josh. I want your guy Josh Dobbs to play. Play Josh Dobbs.
No. Here.
Play Josh Dobbs.
I am going
And I'm not
This is getting crazy.
Aditi, I'm not being cynical either here, right? There's certain traits and characteristics when you're playing top-notch sports here. It's fire, brim, and everything from the top. And when I don't see it, it's not always a recipe for success. It's just not. And they have not proved me wrong. This thing was dead on arrival yesterday. If you pay $200 for them seats, I'm pissed. I'm mad, right? Because you dogged it on me, right? That $200 for some people didn't come easily. They saved up for it. And this is what you get?
But I would argue with that. I think that this is what Joe Flacco battled forever, right? It was Joe cool, but is he too cool? Is he flatline? Is he, you need to see some sort of energy out of him, is what some people thought. But now look at Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is of the mindset, calm is contagious. And he is as calm as can be. He is mellow. Jalen Hurts is a guy who they've made memes about. I mean, Nick Sirianni told this joke, and I feel like I already told you guys this, but I remember sitting in the production meeting, and he's like, Jalen Hurts' face is the same if he throws a pick. Jalen Hurts' face is the same if he throws an 80-yard touchdown, and Jalen Hurts' face was the same when those stands in Washington nearly fell on him. That's working for Philly. I think that we're sitting here and we're saying we don't like Jacoby Brissett's demeanor because the Browns aren't winning. If the Browns were sitting at 5-1, then you would love how cool he is. You would love how calm he is. The trouble right now is that you're not getting the results that you want, so you're nitpicking at something
No,
like that.
the one thing I say about Jalen Hurts.
I mean, I saw Kevin Stefanski look about as angry as he could yesterday on the sideline. He was throwing his flip card or whatever his play sheet. I don't even know what to call that thing.
Should have burned it.
When the 4th and 1 didn't work.
Listen, let me tell you something. Jalen Hurts, if you go back and check his body of work at Oklahoma and Alabama, the one thing he has that it has in Philly, he got command of the locker room. He does. You can see it.
And when Deshaun Watson's here, he will have.
Well, here we're gonna be so far gone by that time.
Let me point something out.
Yeah, but you know what? Let me go back to this, okay? Mitch Trubisky came into Pittsburgh in the spring, and right away, people talked about how he had won that locker room and how guys were gathered around him and how much they believed in him, such that he was elected a captain.
Yeah. Well, you hadn't checked Chicago, Adji. You hadn't checked Chicago. Because they wouldn't say that in Chicago.
Yeah. I think Aditi's got to go, right?
We got a couple more minutes.
Oh, okay.
So my thing is, my thing is not so much you could talk about demeanor or we could talk about how you feel about it. My thing is I'm into a results business. When I see this defense that has everything that they've wanted. They got free agents. They got Myles Garrett. They got the different things that they wanted. They said we needed continuity. We used to get on Joe Woods for the Chad Henne 3rd and 14. But my thing is, it is unacceptable. I don't understand how you got a dude named Zappy that comes in and throws for 300 yards. 305.
He looks better than Mac Jones.
Look comfortable. And then the year before.
Check back in 6 games.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
The year before, they had a rookie in Mac Jones, and he put 41 on you. Like, that's almost 100 points between 2 rookie quarterbacks in 2 years. And when you ask Joe Woods, what's the fix? He says, we're just going to clean up what we're trying to do.
And they've lost to Flacco and Mariota, too.
And they lost to Joe Flacco, who put 300 on them. I just don't understand at this point how I can look at that defense and what they're doing as a defense that is going to be any good for a long period of time.
I'm really sorry. My daughter, the one that was born in Cleveland, apparently is not liking the hate that you are spewing on her hometown team. So you're hearing her
That's
back
lit.
there.
That's a nice comeback. I like that.
But no, I will. I mean, it's hard to disagree. What is there to disagree with? I mean, it's unacceptable.
We just
and you're
mad.
Right. So and again, Adam and I had this conversation this morning. It just feels like a waste of talent.
Yeah.
There's so much talent on that roster. And I was listening. My friend Jason LaConfora was on Pittsburgh radio this morning, and someone asked him on the radio, how do you rank the teams in the AFC North? Who's the best team in the AFC North? And he just sighed. And he sat there, and then he said, well, I mean, I guess you'd have to say the Bengals. I think they have the most talent. I disagree. I think the Browns have the most talent. And so that's what's really flummoxing to me.
Not without
Why
Watson.
are they playing this way? Excuse me?
I don't think I think with Watson, they probably have the most talent. Without him, I think the Bengals are ahead. I do agree with Jason on that.
You think 1 through 22, or let's say 25, 1 through 25.
Yeah, I think the Bengals and Browns are neck and neck, and I think right now with no Watson, the Bengals are ahead because there's a huge advantage at quarterback.
Okay, maybe, but there's a huge advantage at running back. There's a huge advantage for the Browns. There's a huge advantage at pass rushers for the Browns.
I don't agree with that. No, I don't agree. The Bengals, it's not a huge advantage at pass rusher. If you combine the two ends.
You don't think Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney
is better? It's better than what the Bengals have, but what the Bengals have is solid. It's pretty good. It's not as good as the Browns, but it's pretty good. The Bengals are better at D-tackle. The Bengals are better at linebacker. Secondary, the Browns should be better, but they're not playing better.
But they're not playing better. But talent, we're talking about just pure talent.
Right, but the Bengals have
offensive line. The Browns have an advantage at offensive line for sure.
Huge.
All right, I don't want to squabble about this anymore.
But
she's got to go.
Okay, yeah.
And real quick, Aditi, my biggest fear with this defense is the fact that it's not the coaching, it's the IQ. Because these guys keep making the same mistakes over and over and over. And that's what scares me, because you can change the coordinator easier than you can change out all the guys that keep making the same mistakes. What if they're just not very smart at football? What if they just don't have a high football IQ? That is a lot more terrifying than firing the coordinator.
You know what? I think that is very hard to really actually believe, considering the way that they played last year, especially down the stretch, and especially since they went out of their way to say this training camp that they were going to try some new things and diversify what they were doing a little bit, simply because they had such ease with each other and were communicating so well. So I don't know if it's something as simple as dialing it back. I don't know if it's about teaching the fundamentals. You know, one thing that we forget about in the NFL is that every week goes so quickly, and each week is sort of taken up in game plan install, that sometimes you just have to go back to the basics. Teach tackling again, teach technique, get sound on the simple things. And that's what sort of falls by the wayside, especially when there's limitations on how much you practice and when you're constantly having to prep for another opponent. I don't know if it's something as simple as that. I really don't.
I hope you're right.
We're all frustrated and trying to figure it out.
That is an easy fix, but when guys make it's the same guys making the same mistakes over and over and over.
Yeah.
At some point, I look at them and go, do you just not know?
And now we have guys sliding into fans' DMs.
That's just absurd.
They're children.
I'm sorry.
They're children.
We've seen 3 of the Browns' defensive backs reply to critics on social media this year, starting with Denzel Ward, then Greg Newsome, Johnson sliding into DMs.
We saw Baker do it last year. It's an indication of the team.
That's a character issue.
But part of it, I'm not excusing it. Part of it is these guys grew up in the social media world. They grew up.
So did the Guardians players. They don't do any of that nonsense.
I agree. I'm saying I'm not excusing it, but it's childish.
Yeah.
It's totally
Thanks. We appreciate it.
Bye, guys.
See you, Aditi.
Aditi.
By the way,